It is week 6 in the opening line report era. I am TommyFreezePops, and my guy, Patrick Everson, is joining us here live from Las Vegas with all the info, all the intel, and a freshly cracked brew to get us going here for week 6. Patrick, how's it going, my friend?
It's going good. I got to retweet this out, man. Want to make sure everybody jumps on. So I'm going to quote retweet from the Vegas Insider feed.
That's the way we do it. We got to let the people know
line report
that we're out here chatting about the NFL. So while Patrick does that, I'm going to let you guys know that you should follow us at Vegas Insider. That's where you can see this report every single week. And you should also subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VegasInsiderTV. We just hit 10,000 subscribers. So thank you so much to everyone that has supported us along the way. It has been a hell of a journey. We're still climbing the mountain. It's really hard to build an audience in this industry. So we really, really appreciate you guys joining us and being a part of this team. So Patrick, hey, what's going on, man?
Sure. I'll tell you what's going down. Little Firestone Walker Brewing Company Cali Squeeze Blood Orange. It's been a long Sunday.
Oh man, I'm jealous of your ability to drink beer right now.
Yeah, boy, didn't even have it flow over and ruin my computer.
I'm going with water at the moment. It was a long weekend up in Vermont for your boy here. Shout out to Emily and Sean, engaged for about a year or so, and they just got married on Saturday. So there you go. All right, so let's get going here.
Joining us tonight, we appreciate it.
Cheers to them. They're headed to their honeymoon in Europe. All right, so let's talk about the Bills and Chiefs. This is the game we've all been waiting for here. Bills 2-point favorites heading to Kansas City, which I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm making the Chiefs home dogs ever. The over-under at 54 at the moment. That's on the Vegas Insider consensus page. Patrick, tell us what the books are saying about this behemoth of a Week 6 matchup.
Oh, my gosh. This is just an awesome game, a game that everybody's been waiting for since that divisional playoff game last year. That was probably one of the best NFL playoff games ever, maybe one of the best games ever. And I'm not a Chiefs fan because I am a Broncos guy, but that game was just lights out at the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and all that. Just entertaining as all hell. So, as you point out, too, John Murray at the Superbook, who I go to, he's my go-to guy every Sunday night for the opening line report each week. He said, we opened Bills 2.5 after having the game a pick'em on the look-ahead line last week, which is really interesting. I mean, a pick'em last week, and, you know, the Chiefs coming off a good win over the Buccaneers. So that was really kind of a surprise to me. And then to go to Bills 2.5, to your point, Chiefs home dogs, it's just almost unfathomable. But open Bills -2. And John said we did take a few Chiefs bets at +2.5 right out of the gate. Nothing that had prompted them to move the line. But that was as of a couple of hours ago. So a little bit later, I think they got stacked up just a little too much. They decided to go, as you pointed out, to what the consensus is now, -2. So Superbook goes 2.5 and lets the Chiefs bettors take a nibble at that and brings it down to Bills -2. Total hasn't moved at all. But, yeah, this is just going to be a screamer of the game. John said he's already calling. He said this is the best game of the NFL regular season. Certainly the best game on the schedule. Whether it plays out that way, we'll see. But he said the best game of the NFL regular season, we expect big volume on this game. This game is going to get the daylights bet out of it. There's going to be public play on both sides. It's going to be really interesting to see who the book actually needs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, actually, is by the end of the week, did John give you any indication as to where he thinks most of the money is going to lie?
I don't think you wanted to speculate on that yet, and I can see why, because as you and I have discussed over these first few weeks of the season, the Chiefs are obvious, and Patrick Mahomes, very public team. But the Bills are really public now, too. Bettors were on the Bills throughout the offseason in all the markets, Super Bowl, AFC, division, player props such as MVP and so forth with Josh Allen. So the Bills have really been the flavor of the month for many months. And now they go up against Kansas City, which is, looking really, really good coming off that Tampa Bay win, but still with a little bit of week 5 work to do against the Raiders on Monday night. I think they're going to smoke the Raiders, but it could be a classic look ahead spot too, though. That's what people said about the Bills today. They're like, they're 14 against the Steelers. They're just going to want to get out of there. And it's a look ahead spot. You might want to take Pittsburgh. Well, it was 31-0 at halftime. So, if the Chiefs have that similar focus, I think they might be able to do some damage against the Raiders tomorrow. And I kind of want them to, because I want this game to set up as good as it can possibly be and generate as much interest betting wise and viewership wise. I want it to be huge because we all remember that playoff game and it was just spectacular, and we want to just see it. We want to see it all over again.
Exactly. It's better for all of us if that game is awesome next Sunday. So let's have the Chiefs go out and dominate your hometown Raiders tomorrow night. I mean, again, you're a Broncos fan, so it's not like you have a true dog in the Raiders fight here. By the way, shout out to our guy CZB413 saying, favorite show to watch after a long day of football. Love you guys. What you do every Sunday night. So thank you, CZB413, for checking in. And Arthur Chavis saying 31-3 at half. So Arthur is talking about how dominant that Bills team was today against Pittsburgh. And
when I said 31-0, he's 31-3. So my bad if that's correct.
He says that's a division game, no blowout. So we'll see how that happens tomorrow night. I believe that's what he's talking about there, Arthur. But regardless of, if they had 0 points or 3 points at the half, it doesn't matter. The Bills took care of business on that huge line coming into the game. And we talked about it last week. We're like, man, Kenny Pickett, first career start going up against these monsters up in Buffalo. This could be tough. And it was tough.
Yeah, no question. The Bills were ready. And maybe the Bills got a little bit more brought into focus this week by what happened last week in Baltimore. I mean, they probably should have lost that game. Got their attention after already losing at Miami the week before that. So they seem to have their focus, and this is right when you want to have it, when you got to go to Kansas City and play a team like that. Like I said, I hope Kansas City dials it up tomorrow night and looks good so that everybody's looking good going into this game, and so that everybody wants to bet with both fists on this game. And I hope we get 34-31 or whatever. I want a lot of scoring, and I want to be entertained. The only thing that really is a bummer about this, and I note this in my opening line article, which will go up on Vegas Insider probably just a few minutes after we get done with tonight's show. It's literally done. I just have to hit save and publish. So that'll be there for your reading pleasure, and that'll update throughout the week as well. But the thing I note in it is that it's at 4:25 Eastern on Sunday. We get all these, man, I'm trying not to swear here.
You can swear, Patrick. It's the internet.
We get all these dog-ass primetime games. I mean, my Broncos and the Colts, that was horrible. A couple of weeks ago, my Broncos and the Niners, that was horrible.
Get the Broncos off national television, man.
National TV again next week. We're going to talk about it a little bit here. It's ridiculous, but at least it's the Chargers, so maybe we'll see something. Maybe we'll be entertained somehow. But I wish, a game like this, first off, the NFL knew this was the schedule. How in the world was this game not? I don't care how many times the Chiefs or Bills have already been in prime time, how many times they're going to be in prime time. When that game's on the schedule, that's got to be, and I don't even want it Thursday because I don't want them to have a short week. That needs to be Sunday night or Monday night. Granted, we are getting the Cowboys-Eagles, which we'll also talk about in a moment, in the Sunday night game, which is a good game. But, nothing holds a candle to Bills-Chiefs after what we saw last year. So that's the only disappointing part, is that it is a day game. At least it's in the late slot. Everybody will be dialed into that, but it sure would be nice if that was in prime time.
You have to imagine that CBS must have put up a big fight to keep that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, look, you can't, we're the AFC network. You can't be taking that away from us here. So
that's probably fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So, by the way, before we dive into some week 6 stuff, Costa asking us about Monday Night Football, which will have the Chiefs in Las Vegas. Costa, I will tease ahead. We will hit the Monday night game as we move forward here in the opening line report. But we're here to look ahead at week 6 in the NFL. We just spent a good amount of time here on the Bills as a 2-point favorite heading to Kansas City, which is just the juiciest of storylines as we sit here a week out from that game. So I'm very excited. But you talked about it, Patrick, an NFC East battle that I think people didn't realize was going to be as good of a matchup as it's shaping up to be at the moment. The Eagles, 5.5-point favorites hosting the Cowboys, the over-under at 43.5. Those numbers coming to us from the Vegas Insider consensus page. And look, Cooper Rush, man, I know he only completed 10 balls today or whatever it was, but hey, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and Cooper Rush is getting the job done. They're winning ball games with that opportunistic, impressive as hell defense. So kudos to Mike McCarthy for coaching up his boys to keep this thing afloat while Dak Prescott gets healthy. And the Eagles, they're 5-0 for the first time since 2004. Last time that happened, they went to the Super Bowl. They started 7-0 that year. So this is as good as it gets for an NFC East battle in prime time, because typically it's like Cowboys Giants and they're both 3 and whatever, and it's not a good game. So hooray for good football in the NFC East, which looks good across the board this year so far.
Absolutely. The Giants smokes, and we'll talk about them in a moment tonight too. That might be the Giants' debut in our opening line report, at least in full on form. We might have touched on them in previous weeks, but not the way we will tonight after what they did with Green Bay. But backing up to your point in the NFC East on this Cowboys-Eagles game, great game. And I was just double checking. The reason I was on my phone is because I was double checking to see if the Superbook had moved at all. Opened Eagles 5.5, and John said we're holding there for now, despite several bets in Nevada on the Cowboys already. The Cowboys coming off an impressive win against the Rams today. They're 4-0 straight up and against the spread since losing Dak Prescott, which is interesting. But as you said, the defense, very opportunistic, a blocked punt in today's game as well. That was obviously huge in helping stake Dallas out to a nice early lead. John did say, we took a sharp bet in Colorado on Philly, and we think 5.5 is the right line. And to your point, Tommy, he said, just right off the top as you started describing this game, he said, this is a much better game. This is John Murray again with the Superbook talking. This is a much better game than anyone would have expected coming into the season. Both teams, he said, were hugely popular at the betting window today. The Cowboys, of course, against the Rams, and obviously winning and covering because they were underdogs. And then the Eagles getting it done against Arizona, but couldn't get across the line for the bettors as 5.5-point road favorites. But he said they were hugely popular at the window today, and he thinks this is going to be a great volume game. So you're going to have that Bills-Chiefs game, high volume, lots of tickets, lots of money bet on that in every form. Straight bets, money line bets, parlays, money line parlays, teasers probably, maybe teasers enter the fray if you want to tease up let's see who ends up being the dog in this game, because it's already going towards Kansas City. And I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to do so, especially if Kansas City looks good tomorrow night, Monday night, NFL Week 5 against the Las Vegas Raiders. Not my Las Vegas Raiders, but they are the Las Vegas Raiders. But this is going to be the Bills Chiefs running into Cowboys Eagles. There's just going to be tons and tons of handle on both those games.
So our guy Arthur on YouTube saying that he loves Tony Pollard. So looks like he's going to be hoping for the Cowboys offense to do work against an Eagles team that has looked good on both sides of the ball, man. They have totally lived up to the offseason hype they were getting, and some. I don't think that people expected Jalen Hurts to come out and be a true MVP candidate. He was kind of one of those guys that's like, keep an eye on Jalen Hurts. There's always like 2 or 3 names that people throw in those offseason conversations because we all have to fill, 6 months of football content with no games. So Jalen Hurts kind of was in there, and you kind of like, okay, yeah. But we're really all talking about Mahomes and Josh Allen. But no, Jalen Hurts squarely in that conversation. And I'll go ahead and look up his MVP odds here in a second. But what do you think has been a bigger surprise here, Patrick, as we are 5 weeks into the year? What Dallas has been able to do without Dak Prescott, or the Eagles being probably the best team in the NFC so far?
Boy, that's a really good question. I'm going to go Eagles. You would have never picked them to be the last undefeated team. I don't think. I think you would have had, several teams ahead of them. And to your point, boy, I wish I'd gotten a piece of Jalen Hurts. Even after week 1, I think after week 1, his odds got cut in half or something. on the MVP, and they were still decently juicy. And I was just like, why I didn't take a flyer on that, I have no idea, because you're going to be nowhere near those numbers now. He is definitely rapidly escalating in the MVP chase, especially when you've got, look, obviously Josh Allen's doing Josh Allen things, and so is Mahomes, but Brady has fallen off. Rodgers doesn't look particularly good. Herbert's been fine, but he didn't look like an MVP to me. I don't know if he looks not right now. Now a lot can change. We are still, we're a third of the way.
Injuries haven't helped with Herbert.
Exactly. So he's been dinged up. Exactly. So, that would have been, if you've got a Hurts MVP odds in your pocket, there's two things I hope. First off, I hope you have it in your pocket at good odds. But second, and this is I'm not trying to be a shameless plugger here, but I hope you've got two of them. And then you take one and you off that thing to prop swap and you keep the other one, because if you got good odds, that thing's going to get more valuable if he can keep playing well and stay healthy.
That's a great point. He's currently tied for the third shortest odds with Lamar Jackson at plus 550, Mahomes ahead of them at plus 500, and Allen, the favorite, at plus 300. And then it's a big drop down to Herbert at plus 1400. So, Jalen Hurts may be the best story in the NFL at the moment. Cooper Rush, though, not far behind. We all laughed at Cooper Rush, and here he is, 4-1. Cowboys heading into a Sunday night matchup with the NFC East rival Eagles. So oddly enough, going to be a great game. Even though when we looked at the schedule ahead of the season, we're like, ugh, this game again, unreal. And here's another game that is now surprisingly going to be fun. Yep. Ravens 6-point favorites heading to the Meadowlands to take on the Giants, who are 4-1 out of nowhere. The over-under at 43.5. Looks like Brian Daboll is the real deal here, man. It finally just took getting the right guy to get that culture in place. And the Giants, scrappy as hell, they're not going down without a fight. They are in the hunt right now in the NFC East. Unbelievable.
Oh, totally unbelievable, and very much in the hunt. And that's another thing. If you would have said, through 5 weeks of the season, the NFC East is going to have the only undefeated team and is going to have two teams that are 4-1, I would have been like, no, that's not happening. But that's totally happening. And that's a big win by the Giants today in London. They were almost double-digit dogs. I think the consensus was 9.5 on the close, and beating the Packers outright, which, by the way, was huge for the books. Like a ton of money line parlays in the early game before Sunday even really gets rolling. A 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff. Before the day even really gets going, a bunch of people's money line parlays were blown up, and probably teasers as well with the Packers by New York winning that game outright. This is definitely a real surprise. Now at the Superbook, and I think I've relayed this to you and our audience, each week, when a team is playing in the current week's Sunday night game or Monday night game, whenever that game kicks off, their game in the subsequent week comes off the board. So the Superbook opened Ravens 5.5, didn't have any movement before kickoff. I think you said there's some 6s out there now. Is that right?
Yeah, those numbers coming to us from FanDuel Sportsbook at the moment. So that's not the VI consensus. As you mentioned, it comes down so many places that we don't have a consensus number heading into the broadcast. But FanDuel still had the Ravens up as a 6-point favorite.
Gotcha. So Superbook went up at 5.5, pulled the game off the board once tonight's festivities began between the Bengals and the Ravens. It'll go back up tomorrow. Be interesting to see what the number is tomorrow. I would guess maybe it ticks up a notch. I don't know. The Ravens darn near lost tonight. Hell of a game. But what John said is he's not sold on he's impressed by the Giants, but he's not sold on the Giants. He said this game could be a dose of reality for the Giants. They keep winning. I'll give them credit for that, but it's hard to believe they are as good as that 4-1 record. And he noted Baltimore will need to win a game like this to keep pace in a tough division. He said the Ravens have played a very difficult schedule. No question. The Ravens have had, the Bills, and then they, a real battle tonight against the defending AFC champions. And now they got to come back with the Giants, who are surprisingly better than people expected. And let's not forget, they lost to the Dolphins, and the Dolphins were, got up to 3-0 at that point and looked good. it's a shame that that their quarterback situation is just a total train wreck now. Another thing we'll touch on this evening in just a few minutes. But yeah, this is a tough. This spot is made a little better, I think, for the Ravens by the fact that they did win tonight. If they had lost that game tonight, they would have really been up against it against the Giants this week. Really, really needing to get a W. And I'm not saying they can afford to lose, but they needed a W tonight going into this game because the Giants are better than expected.
To his point on the Giants needing a dose of reality here, they have played the Titans, the Panthers, Cowboys, Bears, and now they get the big win against Green Bay, which that's the legit win. That's the like, hey, we're better than you think we are win of the season. Granted, it's in London, right? So that kind of is screwy. And then all week, the Packers were probably preparing for multiple quarterbacks because there was whispers that Daniel Jones was going to miss this game. So it's a little bit of a weird game, but got to give the Giants credit. But to Mr. Murray's point, Titans haven't been great. Panthers are bad. The Cowboys they lost to. And then the Bears have been bad as well. So now we get the Ravens on U.S. soil here, kind of an even-er playing field for everybody. And now let's see what the Giants really have. If they win this game on Sunday, they're a legit team in my eyes.
Oh, I totally agree. I think the Ravens were fantastic, and I thought they'd be a little better tonight, but they are kind of dinged up. They do need to heal up this week, that's for sure. I was tempted before the injuries kind of started mounting for the Ravens. I kind of wanted to jump on Ravens in this Sunday night game tonight against the Bengals at an alternate spread because I felt like they would really bounce back well after blowing a great opportunity against Buffalo. But I opted against it because I didn't like that they were just a little too dinged up. And as it turned out, I'm glad I didn't, as they barely got by the Bengals. But yeah, if the Giants win this, it gets really interesting. And the NFC East just gets fascinating if that happens. I mean, think about this. What if the Giants win and the Cowboys win, and you got 3 teams out of the NFC East at 5-1? That would be something else through 6 weeks of the season. That would be a shocker to me.
100%. It would be insane. And look, Baltimore's had a very, very tough schedule, like you said. So I think they're going to be motivated to win this game. 6 is a big number. So I'm curious where that goes throughout the week because, look, the Giants have been good. And I think the Giants, being in New York and being the brand that they are, they're kind of a public team, right? So we'll see how that all plays out here over the coming week. So this is the week 6 opening line report. I'm TommyFreezePops. That's Patrick Everson. We are here every Sunday night after Sunday Night Football. Next Sunday, I haven't even talked with you about this, Patrick. If possible, you're going to be asked to be coming on a little bit earlier than normal as Kevin Rogers will be filling in for me. He's looking at a 10 p.m. start for next week, if possible. But again, we can talk off the air about some details. But hey, we're peeling back the curtain here for the people. All right, let's talk about the Vikings as a 3-point favorite taking on the Dolphins, the over-under at 45.5. The Dolphins, the home team here. The Vegas Insider consensus numbers for you on the screen. Patrick, what are we looking at here for Minnesota coming in as a road favorite in South Beach?
Well, obviously the big problem here is you've got Tagovailoa in concussion protocol still. You have Teddy Bridgewater joining him in concussion protocol after today's game. He got hurt, I believe, on Miami's first play from scrimmage, Miami's first offensive play of the game. So now you're down to third string Skylar Thompson. I don't even know. I never heard of this guy until today. So that's obviously a developing situation, as Bill Pito used to say when he was with ESPN, a developing situation. Or maybe he took that from Howard Cosell. I don't know. But I'm dating myself here for sure. But yeah, this is just such a tough spot for Miami because they got that great start, 3-0 straight up and against the spread, and Tua looked great, and they got the huge comeback win against Baltimore and all that. And now they're, who knows? They could be trotting out a third-string quarterback this week. And, they were competitive against the Jets today and then gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. That was a 1917 game, 1914 game. And then just gave it all away in the fourth quarter. Minnesota, I understand why they're favored here, but they're not covering numbers. They've dropped 4 in a row against the spread. And again, John Murray at the Superbook, what he told me tonight, again, he said this is a tough line to set with the Dolphins QB woes. Last week they had this a pick 'em on the look ahead line, and they were getting bets on Miami at that number prior to Sunday's results and the new open and the actual formal opening line going up this evening. So it was at a pick 'em last week. Now it's at Vikings 3 on the road. And he said this is a very interesting game to keep an eye on as we get closer to the weekend. No doubt you're going to want to monitor that injury report pretty darn closely.
Skylar Thompson, the rookie from Kansas State, probably didn't think we'd be seeing a whole lot of him this season, especially after the first few weeks we saw it at Tua. It's been really, really unfortunate to see what's happened with that quarterback room in Miami. Obviously, the Tua thing is just awful. And then the Teddy Bridgewater thing today is like, man, really? So you have to imagine if they should have been already overly cautious as it is, because this, it's the brain we're talking about, but all of the eyeballs on them for what they've been dealing with the last 3 weeks, like Teddy Bridgewater is going to have to be 400% before he sees the football field, probably, right? Like you're nowhere close to the line at this point if you're the Miami Dolphins. Exactly. So it's going to be Skylar Thompson, or it's going to be some Joe Schmo guy who's a veteran who's been around the league a million years. You know how that happens, right? They'll bring in the guy and like a Hasselbeck type back in the day, or like a McCown brother of sorts, a modern day McCown brother, right? Maybe they'll get one of them to come out of retirement. Look, I'm going to be on the Vikings for this one, and it's purely a function of what's going on at the quarterback position for Miami. So we have a comment here on YouTube he's saying the Bills minus 14 and Ravens money line hit today. That's right, Kev. Congratulations if you were on both of those. And our guy Arthur on YouTube saying Giants strong.
The flex.
So he likes what he's seen from the G-men so far this season.
I can understand that. I like what I've seen from the G-men so far this season. It was really interesting that I was at Mandalay Bay Sportsbook this morning doing a pregame for the early kicks, but not the early kick, but just, the round of 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific games. And it was filling up nicely by 9:30. It was almost full in there. We're getting really good crowds at the sportsbooks out here in Vegas this season. I mean, every week it's pretty darn good. But there was a lot of interest in that game, and it went down to the wire, and it looked like the Packers were going to find a way to get it done until they didn't. It was pretty raucous in there. A lot of people were liking that Giants win. And on the right, being on the right side, I can tell you they were on the books. They were not, I should say they were on the book side with that, because again, there were a lot of money line parlays, teasers, and such running to Green Bay, as is the case almost every week, unless Green Bay is playing somebody like the Chiefs and
the Giants. Am I right?
Or the Giants, sure. We'll find out. We'll see. I'm a semi-believer right now. I'll be a bigger believer if they put it together this week.
All right, so let's talk about an incredibly just awful matchup here on Thursday night. Commanders heading to Chicago to take on the 1-point favorite Chicago Bears. The over-under at 40. I saw it lower at some places. I'm going to be hammering that under. Patrick, what are the books saying about this stinker we have ahead of us here on the Amazon Prime Video Game of the Week? Yay.
Yeah, it's Thursday Night Football once again. After getting that total awfulness that was the Colts and the Broncos last Thursday night, we get to come back.
I'm still in pain from that game, Patrick.
And me too, as a Broncos fan. We get to come back with the Commanders and the Bears. Now, that said, it's going to be hard for those two teams to look worse than the Broncos and the Colts last week. So I do think somehow they're going to manage to outshine that game and score more than 21 total points. Even if they, and especially if they have to go to overtime, I assume they'll get more than 21 points. It's crazy. They went to overtime and still could only get 21 points in that game last week. But yeah, this could be another grind of a Thursday Night Football game, a rock fight, as you like to call them when they get that ugly. And John Murray said just as much. This was the beginning of his comments to me tonight on this. I know the Thursday night games aren't always the best, but this is ridiculous. So he has very low expectations on this. He said, hey, we hung this game at Pick'em. We saw money come in both ways. Take your best guess. It's still at Pick'em, over under at 40. No movement on the spread or the total on this Sunday evening at the Superbook. And probably not a whole hell of a lot of interest, although he did say they got a little bit of money both ways.
I mean, the Bears are an extremely popular team. The Commanders have a huge fan base. So that's why you're going to see probably money coming in both ways throughout the week. Sure. But I can't imagine that one is going to get a whole lot more than the other, given what we've seen. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've seen more flashes out of Washington if I had to pick one. Yes, Chicago beat the Niners, but again, that game was in a monsoon. So I just throw that out the window. Mm-hmm. I know people like to make fun of the weather thing, but like, use your eyeballs. Like, how can you just ascertain anything when that was going on? So our guy Randy Poss on YouTube saying Bears this Thursday. I don't know, Randy, you're going to put your money on the Bears? Sure, do your thing. Kev Cook saying he's going to go under 39.
Kev, you can get 40, man. So. Get 40 if you can get. If there's 40 out there, get 40.
Go get it right now. Get it while it's hot. This guy Alec Cornwell, who's here with us a lot of times on Sundays. Hello, Alec. He says Commanders 13-4 season incoming. I think you already mathematically can't do that, Alec. So sorry to break that one to you. And he says trust. So maybe he's talking about next year. This is going to be bad. I might not watch this game. I'm just going to say it. Like, I know it's my job to kind of watch these games. I might just skip this game. I might just crack open the old movie list I have with my fiance and play good fiance that night and say, you know what, honey, I'm going to skip football tonight because I love you. Let's watch a movie.
You make that kind of sacrifice because that's the kind of loving husband you're ultimately going to be.
I'll read about it the next morning before I record the podcast and pretend I watched it like I do with everything that we talk about on the podcast. All right, let's talk about another game here, Patrick. We have your Broncos. Let's ride. Headed to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. 6.5-point favorites. The over-under at 46.5. Is it going to be ugly? What do you think here? They've had a long rest, right? It's kind of got the mini bye here, so
they get the mini bye, and then maybe that'll be
the help, right?
For the Denver Broncos. So, look, this is ridiculous. At this point, it's like, I thought the Broncos were going to be head and shoulders above what they have been over the last couple of years because I really thought this was a good upgrade at quarterback. And I'm not saying that Russell Wilson's not good, but he's not who people thought he was going to be. And it's obvious the league thought that Denver was going to be a lot better because they stacked all these primetime games up for the Broncos early in the season. And they're awful. Russell Wilson hasn't looked good. That team and that offense hasn't looked good. I need to take a step back. Denver's defense is phenomenal. And, I don't think that Denver would be in the position it's in right now. I think they'd have a couple more wins at least if they still had the quarterback room they had last year. And that's not to say those quarterbacks are better than Wilson because I don't think they are. But I don't think they'd be putting up, 11 points against the Niners and 9 points against the Colts. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Something's just not clicking there. I don't get it. But at any rate, I'm sorry, everybody, but you're getting the Broncos in primetime again. And what John Murray had to say about this game, again, this is the Monday nighter for week 6. He said, we opened the Chargers 6.5. We're seeing money both ways. They haven't moved off 6.5. He noted Brandon Staley was very lucky to escape with a win today at Cleveland. No question. Some potentially questionable play calling from him late. And that makes him the perfect foil for the Broncos' Nathaniel Hackett, who has no idea what the hell he's doing in Denver, it doesn't seem. Maybe the mini bye will help him and Russell Wilson. We'll see. But John said, if nothing else, with those two coaches matching wits, it should make for some interesting TV. The total opened 47.5 at Superbook and is already down. I think you said consensus is 46.5. It's already down to 46 at Superbook. So at least with regard to the total, it looks like early bettors are expecting my Broncos to ugly this up a little bit again. And at this point, I sure wouldn't be surprised. How can I argue otherwise? I haven't seen anything better.
Look, people needed to change in Denver. You got it. You got Nathaniel Hackett. And guess what changed? your offense having any semblance of a beating heart. And Pat Shurmur, he's a guy that people like to make fun of year after year after year, but him and Vic Fangio had a team that can score a little bit more points than a team that has a guy who's coming from this awesome offensive coaching tree in Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, who looks washed, man. I got to tell you. So disappointing for sure what we've seen coming out of Denver. Look, I'm a Patriots fan. No love lost for me. I don't like the Broncos. So they've kind of whooped our ass.
But we handed it to you a few times in the 90s.
Yeah, and honestly, during the Manning era too. Jake Plummer took a ring off Brady's finger if you talk to enough massholes around here. Yeah, man, it's been interesting. I think the Broncos are going to go to LA and they're going to, be embarrassed by the Chargers. We're going to get to see it again on primetime football. How lucky are we? All right, some comments here on YouTube. Alec clarifying for us that the Commanders are currently 1-4. They're going to win 12 straight. So there you go. Matt 13-4 mathematically still.
So the NFC East is going to get they're going to get a division winner and two, maybe how many? There's two. Is there 2 wild cards? 3 wild cards. So
now? They're going to get all 4 teams in. Apparently,
are they going to the playoffs in the NFC East? Is that what's going on here?
Apparently. Good luck to you, man. We have Costa saying he's taking the Commanders and the over. So he's looking at the defenses struggling on Thursday night as they take on the Bears. Interesting. I mean, it's not like you got 2 high-powered offenses, so that's why I'm kind of negging the defenses here by looking at his comment. The Renisha Brown saying that's disrespectful to have the Chiefs at +2 at home. And let's dive back into that game because I believe we probably have some new viewers here, and that is the game of the week, man. Yep. Bills 2-point favorites heading to Kansas City, over under 54. I am fascinated to watch how this money and these lines move throughout the week. I have to imagine that people are going to look at that Chiefs +2 number and say, yes, please give me some of that. And maybe this is, a coin flip by the time we get to kickoff here.
Right. Well, first off, was it Renisha? Is that right?
It was Renisha.
Addressing her point, I don't necessarily disagree, but remember, this is betting. So the odds makers are putting, they've done all their talking in the risk room and figured out where they want to be. And if they were really way off, there'd be a lot more Chiefs money coming at this point. Now, that said, her point may really be borne out tomorrow night. If the Chiefs go out and beat the hell out of the Raiders, which is entirely within the realm of possibility. The 2 games against the Raiders last year, I believe the Chiefs just absolutely boat raced them. If you had the combined total score was just something ridiculous. If that happens tomorrow night, I think what'll be interesting, and and Renisha and others might see what they're expecting to see, is what the number is on Tuesday morning. Because a lot of books will take this game off the board, the Bills-Chiefs game off the board during tomorrow night's game, the Monday night game, and then they'll put it back up Monday morning, or Tuesday morning, I should say. And it'll be interesting to see what that number is. If the Chiefs look really good tomorrow night, then that number might swing in a way that more represents perhaps what people expect when the Chiefs are on their home field with Patrick Mahomes. But, given a lot of respect to the Bills, and the Bills have quickly become a public team. People really like to bet them. They like the way they play. They like the fact that they score a lot of points almost every week. The Dolphins game notwithstanding, and even last week against the Ravens wasn't great, but at least they put up some points in the second half and came back and did something there. And then, of course, today, 31 points in the first half and coasted to victory. That's the Steelers. The Steelers aren't anything to write home about. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where that number is Tuesday morning, because it could look a good bit different than it looks right now.
Absolutely. Sorry, doing some YouTube maintenance here on the broadcast. Here we are. It is the Week 6 opening line report. I am TommyFreezePops. That is Patrick Everson. Thank you for joining us each and every Sunday here on the Vegas Insider YouTube channel. Thank you for getting us to 10,000 subscribers. If you have not subscribed yet, go hit the subscribe button wherever it is down there. I never know where to point. It's somewhere. I think it's that way. Go hit subscribe. Go like this. and send this to your friends. We want to get up to 20,000 here at some point. I was told by my boss that if we get to 30,000, we get to have a pizza party. So if you guys want to eat some pizza, I mean, here we go. All right, another game that I thought was interesting here, Patrick. I saw this line and it caught my eye. Why are the Colts a 1.5-point favorite hosting the Jaguars? And look, I know the Jags have kind of faded off here slightly after, more than slightly, I'd say, after we were kind of bullish on them a few weeks into the season. But look what the Jags did to Indy earlier this year. It's not like Indy has looked like a world beater in any sense. No. Maybe because they're getting the mini bye here and they're at home, they're getting some love. But I have to imagine that Jacksonville could be a favorite heading into this game by kickoff. Call me crazy, Patrick, but why are the Jaguars 1.5-point dogs heading into a game where they blew out the opponent only a few weeks ago?
That's a tricky question. And I don't know. I was actually going over to check out as you were, doing the lead up there, discussing this game. I was jumping over to DraftKings splits to see if they have anything going on next week's games yet. And unfortunately, they do not, because I would love to see what the early numbers are on that, with the Colts, a home favorite, against a team that boat raced them a few weeks ago. I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, I guess one way you could look at it, you said Colts 1.5, right? And I apologize, I don't have the number in front of me. But, there's kind of a school of thought. Not every odds maker subscribes to it. Certainly not every bettor subscribes to it. But that home field is worth 3 points. Well, if you're going to say home field is worth 3 points, then what you're really saying, if you're only giving the Colts 1.5, is that, the Jags kind of in a sense are 1.5-point favorites here. I mean, because if it was on a neutral field, the Colts, the Colts wouldn't be favored. They're only getting half of that 3 points, so they're giving some of it away to the Jags there. Maybe that's part of it, and part of it could just be, first off, that number. Like I said, maybe not. They realize the Colts aren't that good, but don't want to have them as a dog at home to a team that they're still not quite sure about, even though the Jags early on looked good. Maybe come back down to earth a little bit. But sometimes it's just like, okay, we think this is the number. Let's just put it out there and see what people do with it. And if it hasn't moved at all, I mean, they're onto something, at least for the moment. And maybe people will look at it a little differently in a couple of days after they've gotten through tomorrow night's game. But I don't know that I could have made the Colts an underdog here. I could have seen Pick'em maybe, but it is a little bit.
I think you're on to something with the home team is worth 3 points, because when you said that, it made it more palatable to me, because yes, the Jaguars blew them out, but it's not like the Jaguars should be 7-point favorites heading into this thing, right? So that seems to make more sense. And I feel like if we talk to a bookmaker, that would kind of be the response here. It's like, look, the Colts, they get a little bit of home love here. Jaguars might be the better team, but it's close enough where this is why this number is where it is. So that's one I'll be keeping an eye on.
Right. And they'll just say, well, let the bettors take us where they want to go.
Exactly. So let's check out what Justin has to say on YouTube. He says, gentlemen, good to see Patrick, massive asset to Vegas and the industry. So got to show a little love to our guy, Patrick Everson here.
Appreciate that, Justin. Thank you.
On the opening line report. Patrick, another game I wanted to talk about quickly here. Well, there's 3 more ones I want to do some quick hitters on, and then we can talk Monday Night Football and wrap this thing up because I want to go to bed. The Jets.
That's writing to do.
Yeah, we got things we got to do here, Patrick. The Jets are in Green Bay. Packers 7.5-point favorites at the moment. The over/under at 44.5. I think the Jets have been a lot better than we thought they were going to be this year. They're scrappy. All 3 dudes that they drafted in the first round having immediate impacts. Zach Wilson looks good. I know that the Dolphins dealt with their QB stuff today, but I mean, the Jets put up 40 points. You don't just, shake your sock at that, right? Packers have looked shaky this year. It took them until the end of overtime to beat Bailey Zappi, and then they just lost in London to a Giants team that is better than we thought they were going to be, but still the Packers should be better than the Giants. The Packers should go into London and cover whatever that number was at kickoff, 8.5. Like that, they should be able to do that, and they didn't. So I'm looking at the scrappy Jets here heading into Lambeau, and I'm looking at a 7.5 number, and I'm thinking, I think that the Jets could keep this thing close. I haven't been impressed by the Packers this year. What do you think?
I think it's a reasonable expectation. I don't know if it'll happen, but to your point on the Jets to this point, last week in the fourth quarter, they scored 14 points. They put up 2 touchdowns. They rallied with 2 touchdowns to get a win. This week, they weren't behind at that point, but they put up 21 points in the fourth quarter. So they're scoring points in bushels in the fourth quarter of their last 2 games, which that's something I find fascinating. A team that can finish, maybe even if they didn't start strong, if they can finish, I definitely think that's interesting. 7.5, an interesting number. I don't think this is going to go down. I don't see how this goes down with the Packers at home coming off definitely what should be a stinging rebuke, even though the Giants are better than people expected. When you go in as a 9.5 point chalk or whatever that game closed at, and not only do you not cover, but you don't win, and people are starting to be like, okay, is this team any good or not? What's going on here? I could certainly see the Jets covering. On the flip side, I could also see the Packers making a statement next week because they need to get their act together. And this might be a game where, much as I hate to lay more than 10 ever, I might go alternate spread on this. I want to see how the week unfolds. I might go alternate spread. I just got a funny feeling. The Jets look great. Better. Maybe not great, but they look a lot better than people expected, just like, as do the Giants, although the Giants, I think, are better than the Jets. But I just feel like Green Bay is going to be itching to make a statement. So they're on their home field. I don't know. I'm going to think about it. It'll be hard to pull the trigger because it's a lot of points. But sometimes I'm not sharp. I tell
you
everybody.
Like the sweat. You like the sweat.
I like the sweat, and I like to have some fun with it, and a little more at the pay window if you happen to get go alternate spread. I might do that. I'm not impressed with the Packers at all. But it's just a feel thing, which is a stupid way to bet, and I understand that. It's a feel thing. They're going to come home steamed, and they're going to find a way to take it out on the Jets in kind of a get-right game for them.
Well, that's the thing, heading into this week, that this was supposed to be the statement game for them, right? We're on the world stage. We're in the UK. Rodgers had never really played over there before, if I'm remembering correctly.
And they just team to play a London game.
Yeah, so there you go. And they just almost lost to a third-string quarterback to a Patriots team that probably isn't living up to the hype. Not that there was a ton of hype, but Patriot hype in general. It's not your older brother's Patriots team, right? So, I don't know. I think you're right. They're overdue for their get-right game, right? Exactly. So maybe getting the young Jets at Lambeau is the spot that they need. All right, let's talk about the Bengals as a 1-point favorite heading into New Orleans. The over-under at 44.5. That from FanDuel Sportsbook got those lines mid-game. So as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast and every week here, the Sunday night teams numbers come down a lot of places as that game is going on. So we'll see what that number's at some point here, probably in the next few hours for those who stay up, those night owls. But the Bengals get the win in Baltimore here. That's a tough victory. Baltimore got the win, but Bengals covered, and they were leading with 2 minutes to go here. So they showed their mettle here, and their record isn't what it should be, but they're a good team. I think that we can confidently say now that the Bengals have sort of figured it out. I mean, that regardless of what their record was heading into a game with Baltimore, that should be a coin flip every time. Both of those teams are really good. New Orleans is a team that it's a coin flip every week if we know that they're going to be awesome or suck. So I'm really curious to see, how this number fluctuates throughout the week. I think that the public is going to look at what Cincy did in Baltimore tonight and say, man, like they could have easily beaten the Ravens if Zach Taylor didn't get cute in the red zone there. I don't know what that guy was doing. And, again, New Orleans, it's just who knows? Is Taysom Hill the greatest player of all time, or do the Saints stink? You never know every week.
No, I agree. This is I'll tell you, I don't know what to make of this game. I would probably stay away from it, but I will stay away from it, in fact. But the Bengals kind of need to win this game. It's tonight was a pretty key game for both those teams, and both of them could have used a win, and whichever one lost was going to need to bounce back this coming week, I think. So I would expect to get hopefully a pretty focused effort out of the Bengals. I do think they're a good team, but having the Ravens this week and definitely and then having to go on the road 2 weeks in a row in the NFL, that's never fun. So it's a tough spot. I think it's a stay away. I do think it's interesting that it's 1. I might have thought it would be more. Maybe tomorrow morning it's a little bit higher, a touch. Even though the Bengals didn't light up the scoreboard or anything, they certainly played a very good team to basically a standstill and down to the final minutes. So we'll see how that develops tomorrow, Monday and early in the week.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to watch that thing, and I think, like you said, Patrick, maybe early in the week here, we see that number move a bit because of what they did in Baltimore tonight. They covered and they looked good. So we will make sure to keep an eye on that. And then I just want to hit quickly on my Patriots. 3-point dogs heading into Cleveland. 42 is the over-under on the Vegas Insider consensus. Bailey Zappi should keep this job until he proves that he doesn't deserve to have the job. Even when Mac Jones is healthy, I am in the camp of ride the hot hand. In the 4th grade, when Tom Brady was in the QB battle with Drew Bledsoe, I should say, I was Team Brady. Keep going with Brady.
Yeah,
it's the same thing here. Bailey Zappi, whenever Mac Jones is healthy, keep Zappi in. Let's ride it, baby. The defense is good. I'm all in on the Pats. This week, get the big win over the Lions. We're going to go into Cleveland. We're going to dominate the Browns, and we're off to the races, baby. Give me the Pats, +3. Patrick, are you with me? Bailey Zappi time.
Well, I mean, Mac Jones not coming back anytime soon, right? I mean,
if you ask Mac Jones, he's day to day.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. I'm inclined to think that if they're able to start Mac Jones, they're going to start Mac Jones. But more power.
Ride the hot hand, Patrick.
I understand, but that's your 3rd string quarterback. So you gotta answer to a lot of people there if you make a move like that. But look, I don't know. I think it's a tough call. Maybe you're catching lightning in a bottle with this with the 3rd string QB, but Cleveland and the Browns Chargers game today was highly entertaining, and the Browns easily could have won that game. They had the pick in the end zone, right? They threw a pick in the end zone right at the near the end there.
Yeah,
where they really had an opportunity to win that game. And they put up, 27 points or whatever it was. So I mean, that's a team that can score. So and they've got some talent on defense, no question. And they've gotten healthier, which was one of the reasons that line between the Browns and the Chargers came down a fair amount this week. There was, sharp players were on the Browns. Everybody was taking Browns money line. That was a sexy play. So was the Commanders, by the way. But so much for that. But at least the Browns won. As you watch the game, it made a lot more sense. I mean, the Commanders almost got there too, so I can't take that from them. But the Browns game was the Browns Chargers game was a hell of a lot more entertaining. It was a good game. They looked good, So they gave the Chargers all they could handle. That could I don't know. It could be a chore, but at least you're getting 3. So I suppose if you like the 3, then take those points and hope for the best.
I look at the Rams as a 9.5-point favorite, and I wonder why. And I know the Panthers have been bad, but I don't think the Rams should be 9.5-point favorites against anyone right now. Maybe this is Vegas's way of saying, oh, look ahead, not look ahead, get right spot for LA. Panthers have been maybe the worst team in the NFL this season. They're in the conversation. So maybe that's how you sell it to me, but I don't know, man. The Rams have not looked right at all.
No, totally agree. Surprised. I didn't think that. I thought the Rams would have a hangover. I don't remember. I'm in I don't know where my papers are on this, but I'm in an over-under contest at the Superbook. You pick the over-under on every single team, and I'm pretty sure we did Rams under, and I'm thankful for that at this point. No, they're losing ground quickly, and the Niners got a great defense, and they're not looking like a defending Super Bowl champion. I mean, it doesn't feel to me like, the Bengals need to kind of get it together. They're the defending AFC champs, but it doesn't feel like the Bengals feel like a pretty good team that's just a play or two away. To me, the Rams don't feel that way. So 9.5 is just a ton of points. I can't imagine laying that. I wouldn't take it either. I'm not going to play. I wouldn't play the Panthers. Don't get me wrong. But,
exactly.
I'm not laying 9.5. There's almost nobody I'm going to really lay 9.5 with. Although, like I said, I might go alternate spread on the Packers this week. So we'll see.
That's right. You're putting the cheesehead hat on heading into next Sunday here. By the way, I want to give a shout out to my man Randy Poss here, checking back in. Zappy looks like Tom Brady 20 years ago. That's right. Keep Zappy in. I don't care when Mac Jones is healthy. I don't care if it's next week. I don't care if it's 6 weeks from now. We're riding the hot hand. Unless Bailey Zappy sucks next week, then Mac Jones, welcome back. All right, let's take a look at the Monday night game here. We have the Vegas Raiders hosting the Chiefs. Chiefs +7 heading into Las Vegas. The over-under at 51.5. That is the numbers based on the VI consensus page on VegasInsider.com. So what do we got here to close out week 5 here, Patrick? Chiefs money's got to be coming in hot and heavy, although Vegas, as we've mentioned on here before, tends to take some money because they are in Las Vegas. But I have to imagine that KC is going to be the team that we're going to see the most of the money coming in here on for the next 12 hours or so.
Oh, no question. And I apologize. I have a wonky studio light in here today that's just doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So I apologize. I'll get it remedied by next.
The ghost of Patrick Everson checking in from Las Vegas.
Exactly. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I mean, look, I'm Irish and all, but come on.
I think you got to drink another beer, get a little bit more color in that face.
Exactly. Look, this is the public's going to be has been on the Chiefs and will be all over the Chiefs in the coming 24 hours. Any money line parlays, teasers that survived Sunday, those are all going to run to Kansas City tomorrow night. And just looking at straight bet point spread splits at DraftKings right now, ticket count beyond 4-1, 81% of tickets on the Chiefs, 86% of spread money on the Chiefs. I don't think that's going to change a whole hell of a lot between now and kickoff, 8:15 or whatever it is Eastern time on Monday night. I think people are going to continue to load up on the Chiefs. The Raiders will probably get, like you said, a little bit of love here in Vegas. There's a little bit of regional bias, but by them getting out of the gate 0-3, it certainly took a little bit of the bloom off of that rose. Maybe some of it gets reestablished by the win they got over Denver last week, but going to Kansas City on Monday night isn't necessarily a remedy for getting, for going to, 2-3 rather than dropping to 1-4. Especially with how bad the Chiefs beat up on the Raiders in both games last year. So this is just a really tough spot for the Raiders. We'll see if they can hang around. But tickets and money say people are not expecting them to hang around at all.
I wonder if the Raiders win this game, what the number for Bills Chiefs looks like throughout the week. Like, what if the Raiders come in and they have their statement game? They finally show us who we all thought they were going to be. Devontae Adams catches a couple touchdowns. Darren Waller catches 8-9 balls. Derek Carr looks good. Chandler Jones gets to gets to Patrick Mahomes a few times. Max Crosby looks like what if the Raiders come out and all their studs do what they're supposed to do? They get the dub. What do we think happened? Do the Bills, they bump up to a 3-point favorite heading into KC? Like, do you think the number gets impacted at all here?
If the Chiefs don't come out and look good tomorrow, it could get impacted. I think the Chiefs need to look good and win. But I mean, really, if it ends up being, let's say let's go two ways with this. If the Raiders beat the Chiefs, I wouldn't be surprised to see that number creep toward the Bills. That would be a stunning result. Kansas City really can't be losing tomorrow night. If the Chiefs do what I think they're going to do, which is I think they're going to take care of the Raiders tomorrow night. I think they saw what the Bills did today against a team that they should have taken care of business against. They took care of business. And so the Chiefs know they can't really look ahead. They need to take care of business too and be ready for this game next Sunday afternoon. And I think that's what they're going to do. But I think as long as the Chiefs either win and cover or we get a really entertaining game and the Chiefs win, even if they don't cover. And by entertaining, what I mean is we get some scoring and there's some up and down the field and you see this dynamic Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey and some of the other playmakers they have. If we get a good game, and let's say the Chiefs win 31-27 or something like that, I still think that this might move toward the Chiefs, even if they don't cover tomorrow night, as long as they win in entertaining fashion. But like you said, if the Raiders come in and lose, or rather if the Chiefs lose, the Raiders go in there into Arrowhead and win. I don't know. It will be interesting. Everybody keep an eye out on Tuesday morning. A lot can change between now and then.
All right, we've gone much longer than we normally go, but I think we were just really excited to talk about Bills Chiefs. It dominated a lot of the conversation here. It's like the game I've been waiting to watch all season. So, I mean, it deserves the real estate it has been given. So that's going to do it for the Week 6 opening line report here on Vegas Insider's YouTube page and on our Twitter feed. Follow us at Vegas Insider. Go to youtube.com/VegasInsiderTV. Give us the subscribe. Hit that like button for us. And Patrick, any closing thoughts for us here? Either, overarching thought coming out of Week 5 or for the look ahead here at Week 6.
Well, look, we got a game left in Week 5. So all I'd say is, along with everything that you noted about everything you should be following and checking out, we got a busy Monday. There'll be a bunch of great content, I'm sure, up on Vegas Insider from multiple folks on the content side. I'll be updating my action report article a couple of times during the day on that Raiders Chiefs game. I'll have a video action report pregame from the Superbook tomorrow night. A whole bunch. There's several Vegas Insider people coming out here for the Global Gaming Expo this week. And we're all going to hang out, or quite a few of us are going to hang out tomorrow night at the Superbook. So we'll have a pregame video report from there. Lots of great stuff. And then obviously, none of us can wait for Bills Chiefs. There'll be plenty of Bills Chiefs material, I'm sure, on Vegas Insider throughout the week. So keep an eye on that.
Renisha Brown asking, ain't Russell Wilson injured? I don't think officially. I don't think he's going to miss time. He definitely looks banged up. So
yeah, and he did go. I think he did go to California to see some sort of specialist in the wake of that awfulness on Thursday. But if I had been a contributor to that awfulness, I would have left for California too. Or somewhere. Maybe not California, but maybe Florida or something. I would have went to a beach or something with a mini bye. Hopefully they got a couple days off and got their head straight. But no, that's a good point. He may be a little bit dinged. Wouldn't it be something if he sat out a week and the Broncos put up like 28 points or something and beat the Chargers, or even gave the Chargers a game?
That would be great.
That would be really interesting.
I kind of want that to happen.
You're a sick man.
That would be awesome, man. Come on, give it to me. All right, before we head out, I want to talk to you guys about the Vegas Insider app. Go there, download it on Apple and Android. We have up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. We have all our latest shows, best bet videos and podcasts, props, trends, futures, news, all on the free Vegas Insider app. Download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. Guys, that's going to do it for the Week 6 opening line report. You can catch me on the Vegas Insider podcast feed tomorrow morning with Tom and Tom, daily podcast looking at Vegas trends, props, all the good stuff, best bets for the entire day in sports. Patrick, you can see on VegasInsider.com throughout the week with the odds and action all across Las Vegas. That's going to do it for us here. We will see you next Sunday night. You'll see Kevin Rogers with Patrick Everson. It'll still be fantastic. We'll catch you guys then.